What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming, and we are back with our preferred fabled attire, long awaited, much anticipated podcast attire for our 82nd episode of our Quack experimental podcast. Now, it's been a while. We've got some stuff, so let's get right into it, shall we? So first up, for those UK/EU people out there, you might have a bit of a vested interest in this next one. We have Gamesmaster. That's right. Gamesmaster. Not the magazine that just recently went the way of the dodo, but, well, the old, incredibly old TV show that you might know and love. And yes, it's coming back. Now, it will probably have lost a shitload of its original charm that we had back in the day, because these things, it's not so much when they get updated to HD, it's more so with modern sensibilities and what they will pander to and how they will write stuff and all as well. Now, it will probably lose a bit of the quirky niche charm that gaming used to have, but now is just complete mainstream fodder a lot of the time. But anyway, if you might remember, if you don't, Gamesmaster was a pretty interesting TV show in the early to mid 90s over on Channel 4 here in Ireland and the UK. I'm not sure about mainland Europe, but these were the big markets for it here anyway. So with this new one, when it does get rebooted, it's going to have 5 celebrities will be competing in multiple different challenges across multiple different episodes to be crowned the winner. A winner is them, basically. A winner is you. Now, it's going to be a little bit messy as well, because if this all does come to fruition, that's an awkward word to say, fruition in its current pitched form, it's going to be spread across multiple different channels/avenues. It's going to be done across Channel 4, E4, YouTube, and social media. Kind of sadly, it would all be nice if you could just get it in one simple place and just go from there. But having said all that, no matter how this goes and all, the best part of it is that currently it's being teased. It's not confirmed, it's not official, it's not announced, or at least if it is official, it's not announced. But currently, it's being teased that Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard himself, might be the disembodied head of the Gamesmaster. That's pretty beast, if you ask me. I love Patrick Stewart. He's great. He would bring that what's the word? There's a certain tone and a certain, I really hope he gets it. I would watch it. Probably only if he was in it. I'll just, get it wherever I want to. I mean, we can watch it on demand whenever we want downstairs. But I think we'll see how it goes. It's currently in the stages of being pitched. It's not 100% confirmed that it's even going to go ahead and be made, but it has to go through advertising and focus groups and all as well. So we'll see how it goes. There is potential though, especially if Patrick Stewart does turn out to be involved. But speaking of legends being involved in new projects, this time we're going to talk a little bit about Akira Yamaoka. I always butcher his name horribly, as I do with many Japanese names. Now, Akira, of course, is the legendary composer from the Silent Hill series. He's done a bunch of other stuff as well, but Silent Hill is my personal favorite work of all of his, as is many others. He is pretty much synonymous with the series, and that's what the majority of people know him for. Now, recently, he did an interview with AI Hub, and they were talking about what he was working on and what he's been doing and all of this and all of that. But specifically, we want to hone in on one thing that was very important that he did say. In this one, he recently said that he's working on a new project, he's working on a bunch of new projects, but including, and this is his words, the one you want to hear about, which you'll likely hear about around sometime this summer. Now, naturally, everyone is automatically thinking new Silent Hill. New Silent Hill game has had baseless, absolute, unfound fanboy rumors for months, if not years now. But it's curious. It's curious because there are a bunch of other things, but this is realistically the one that everyone wants to hear about. Now, interestingly enough, after that, the interview has since been pulled. But everyone was going, oh my god, he announced a new Silent Hill before Konami and went and said everything. Oh my god. No, the big problem here is Konami were naturally being blamed. But Konami even they came forward and said that they had nothing to do with the article being pulled. Now, we have to take this at face value for the moment. Of course, they could just be lying and bullshitting and hiding it behind the scenes and all, but it could be entirely possible. There could be something else that there's just no knowledge of from the Konami side of it anyway. So who knows what it is, but hopefully it better be a new multi-platform Silent Hill game. Fuck timed exclusivity. I was burned on that once before, and I would gladly wait that year-long bitch out for the return to PC, the best form of it. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we get some news of a proper new high-quality announcement of Silent Hill this summer. Now, as old series potentially become new and potentially get revived and refreshed, well, we have to talk about something relatively new that is edging closer and closer to death every single day. In this case, it's Google Stadia, because, like I said, it's closer and closer to death every single day and every single time we hear about it. Now, Google have actually, well, I would say fairly recently, it's within the last 2 weeks or so, because we know these little podcasts are slightly delayed, but Google have actually closed both of their internal game development studios, which were focused solely on developing exclusive games just for Google Stadia. And not only that, but project head of Google Stadia, Jade Raymond, has completely left the company. Not just left the project, but she's completely left Google in general. Now, this really shows how completely dead the Google Stadia platform absolutely is. It is ridiculous. The sooner this whole cloud gaming, streaming crap and fad goes away, the absolute better. Not to mention, all of this is completely anti-consumer, and it is not a good option for consumers in any way, shape or form. Let it go the way of 3D vision and 3D TV. That's what I said. Get it the hell out of here. But what was especially funny is when this was announced about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, there was another bit of timing from a different company with an announcement that was exceptionally funny to me. Because the same day that Google announced all of this, Sega announced that the timed exclusivity deal on Sony, or the timed exclusivity deal that Sony had with the Yakuza spin-off Judgment, was up, or was about to be up. And the game is coming, on PC at least, timed exclusively for what is assumed to be 1 year on Google Stadia. So it's coming to Xbox One, Xbox Series S, PS5, and on the PC side of it, timed exclusive for Google Stadia. On the same day that they announced their project lead has left the company, and both of their internal game development studios get the hell out of here. So, this is important that it dies as soon as possible, because that way we have even less companies trying to fuck everything up on PC with their whole timed exclusive bullshit deals. We already have Epic fucking with it, and now we have Google fucking with it at the same time. Let's get at least one of them out of there, because chances are, unfortunately, Epic won't be going away anytime soon, but Google and Google Stadia, yeah, that looks like it's on the way out fairly fucking rapidly. But something that is here to stay and is getting, well, depending on your opinion of it, bigger and better every day and every time there's a new update, we're talking Final Fantasy XIV. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is there is a new expansion pack officially announced for Final Fantasy XIV. It's going to be the 4th major expansion pack, following on for Heavensward, Stormblood, and Shadows. I don't even remember. I was literally playing it this morning, and I can't even remember what it's called. Shadow something. It is the disappointing one. Put it that way. It's the disappointing one. So there is going to be a new one coming for Final Fantasy XIV. Now, but before we go into the details of it, we do want to talk a little bit about patch 5.5. There's basically nothing to talk about of it just yet, other than it has a release date now of April 13th. That's, of course, a tentative release date, and delays might happen and all, but you're looking at patch 5.5, which will be the full major last patch between the new, or before the new expansion pack. It's also going to be adding, most importantly, new main story quests, but it's going to have the new final 3rd entry in the Nier tie-in raid series, the 24-man raid series. So that is going to have the final one up there in the meantime anyway. So back to the actual expansion. This one is going to be called Endwalker. Now, it's coming later this year. We don't have even an approximate date or an approximate, anything. It's not even a season, really. It's just coming later this year. So far, they've only revealed one new job. It's going to be called Sage. It is a healer DPS focused job. Now, it's still going to be classified as a healer job as far as the roles go and where it sits and where it fulfills. So with 6.0, which is the base content for Endwalker as it launches on day one, it's supposedly going to be the entire end of the Heidelin/Zodiac storyline. So that thing that's been going on since 2.0. So yeah, it's been pretty rough in there. It's been pretty boring the entire time as it went, because it's basically just the same thing over and over. So the Heidelin/Zodiac/Garlean Empire thing is finally going to be out of there. But having said all that, I will believe it when I see it, because I don't trust these at all. Apparently 6.1, when it does come in, is going to be the start of an entirely new, different story, new, different everything, new, different, not so much characters, but who knows, maybe we'll get rid of our crappy little band of ragtag, killing them off, but not killing them off because we can't commit to anything because we're Square Enix, but you get the idea. Now, mark my words. This is what I expect with the 6.1 new full story. It'll either be the Asians as the bad guys, or it will be the Asians behind the bad guys manipulating from the shadows, because it's just so tedious and tiring at this point. They're also adding in the ability to visit other data centers, not just other servers and worlds within the same data center. And on top of that as well, there's going to be a free PS5 upgrade for anyone who has a PS4 license redeemed on their account. There will be a beta test for the PS5 version, which starts in April. It's going to have several different modes, including a 4K mode, or it's going to have a high frame rate mode as well. So naturally, that'll be something lower, like maybe 1080p or 1440p with a higher frame rate. If you've played it on PS4 or PS4 Pro, you already know both the visual fidelity and the frame rate is exceptionally poor, so this would be a nice little addition in there as well, especially when I'm playing on a top-end PC and I run a dungeon and I get screwed by having crappy little console players whose little piece of shit hardware can't keep up. But anyway, imagine, even though they have a 4K mode and a high frame rate mode, just imagine not being able to do both. Fucking lol consoles. Now this next one is just a new announcement and a new bit of an update that we have, but there's no real importance of it just yet because we're not seeing what it's going to affect and all just yet. So this time we're talking Gearbox. Now Gearbox have actually been bought away from 2K and Take-Two, depending on what way you look at it. 2K games were kind of the head of Gearbox, if you will. They were the publishing division of it in a sense. But even 2K Games was owned at a higher level by Take-Two, so you get the idea. They were basically bought away from Take-Two and 2K Games. But they've been bought away by the Embracer Group, which is a large media group which also owns many different other publishers and developers. Some of the more higher profile and notable ones that people might know, including THQ Nordic, Koch Media, and stuff like that. Oh, also they own Saber Interactive as well too, and a bunch of smaller all names and all too. Now, Randy Pitchford has come out and claims that this will allow Gearbox to take more risks now. We've seen how that went before when they put out Battleborn, so that's probably not a good thing. But yeah, there's not too much to say about it just yet. The announcement is very, very new. Obviously, anything that would come in and affect all this and possible game development and publishing and all would be much further down the line. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a while, and as always, we just want to go out and remind everyone that fuck Randy Pitchford. Now, this next one, it's not specifically a video games topic, but it's something that can affect video games and people buying video games and developing video games and whatnot and all too. And frankly, we're just going to talk about Brexit. Now, obviously, I don't live in the UK, so Brexit is not in effect here, in a sense, if you will. But the effects of Brexit are finally starting to hit. Now, of course, that's just for argument's sake. Brexit took place on the 1st of the 1st, 2021. And now we're finally starting to see how it goes. Because this is what we're I'm very lucky that I bought this new PC and built this new PC in December. Well, towards the end of last year. Most of it, some of it was December, some of it was a little bit prior to that. Now, and like I said, depending on who you're talking to and what countries, if you live in mainland Europe or here in Ireland, you're finally starting to get hit by it and how it's going to affect gaming. So I've been keeping my eye on Amazon and a couple of other websites lately, just to see what the shift would be when it comes to prices and stuff like that, how things would change and all of just, with shipping, with importing, with just general prices and conversion rates and all as well. So what I've been doing is I've been using some PS5 games as my big example, because at the moment those are, at least the ones I'm using as the examples, are not likely to get a price cut or a price change or anything like that, so it can be pretty steady as one to go for. So let me give you some examples anyway now, because with Brexit, these prices have completely changed, and that is even before taxes, before potential shipping, and before the new one, potential import fees and all as well. Because even on top of what used to just be free trade between everywhere, sometimes you have additional, pretty much every time now, you have additional import fees on top of that. I believe it's anything less than 20, maybe 22 euro. There's no fees or anything on it. But with games, new games in particular, you're talking games 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 euro now. So it gets a bit messy in that. So anyway, let's look at it this way. And now as well, even Amazon doesn't even always guarantee that they will have additional free shipping and all as well. Like even if you buy something directly from Amazon, or if you have Amazon Prime, well, even if you buy stuff directly from Amazon that's above a certain price, or you have Amazon Prime, now they don't even guarantee free shipping on all items. Now it's only on select things that used to be free when it came to the shipping side of it. So some games now have a shipping cost as well, even if they're full price or normal price or whatever it is. So games have gone from what would be usually below RRP, recommended retail price. That's our equivalent of MSRP for you North American guys out there. They would go from below RRP plus free shipping and no import fees. And now it's gone to above RRP plus shipping sometimes plus import tax. So the good examples, let's get into them. I've teased them for long enough anyway. So yes, I always make sure that they're sold directly by Amazon and not via a third party through Amazon, therefore potentially inflating the price even higher or charging even more for shipping. So one of the big ones, well, probably the biggest one I want to use here, actually, I'll just give the one example, is Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition. Because I was looking, the reasons why I was using this one, other than what I mentioned earlier, is if I was to buy a PS5 anytime soon, I feel like I would need, I won't buy a console or a new platform with no games to play on it. So I would need to buy something on there, and I contemplated buying Demon's Souls because it was potentially a PS5 exclusive, but there's all the talk about it potentially coming to PC because of what was on there. Now, there's also, I don't think I would enjoy that. So there's the potential talk of Spider-Man Miles Morales. The Ultimate Edition would give me the remaster of the original, but the thing is, both games are something I'm not interested in that way, but it's something to play. I'm getting off topic anyway, but this is my show. I do what I want. Anyway, let's go back to the idea. So Miles Morales Ultimate Edition on PS5. It used to be €62 plus shipping without any import tax and fees on it at all. Now, depending on the time of your purchase, because of exchange rates and all as well, the game itself is between 75 to €80. Right now it has free shipping, plus it has import fees of between 14 to €15. Again, that depends on when you buy it because of the exchange rate. So let's just say, in its cheapest form, it's €75 plus an import fee of €14. That is now €79. That is €80 for that game. €80 for that game, when it used to be 62. If it's a little bit higher, you're looking at €80 plus €15, and that is, oh no, you know what? I got that wrong. €75 plus €14. That's €89. That is €90. I got that wrong. €90 for a game that used to be 62. A game that I could buy here in Ireland, even cheaper than that. And that is saying something. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's actually, like I said, it's making it cheaper to buy stuff here in Ireland. Brexit may actually save GameStop here in Ireland because fuck knows I'm not going digital on consoles at all. Absolutely fucking not. But on top of that, around here, and when I say around here, I mean in Ireland in general, it's almost impossible to buy a game anywhere that's not in GameStop. There's one or two other places. You can go to Tesco, which is, if you're not European, that's it's a supermarket chain. They have very few selection of games. Their prices are about the same, but they'll get in their Call of Duties, they'll get in FIFA, they'll get in stuff like that. They'll get into big name games, and that's about it. And even then, for a while, sometimes they stop doing games. They stop doing new games. So you get the idea. But the only other potential option for me around here, there is a big toy superstore in the next town over. And now, to be fair, they do get a decent amount of games in. They won't get in as much as GameStop in any way, shape, or form. Their selection outside of the big yearly stuff, like, say, FIFA, Madden, all that and all as well, is usually questionable. However, their prices are usually better than GameStop by a bit. But their selection, their quantity, and their restock is usually very, very low and very, very questionable. I don't know. I'm going to have to see how all this goes between Brexit just happening, all the lockdowns and all as well. It could be a rough time for anyone going forward that's not a PC gamer. Now, next up, we have one other topic that I have to talk about here. And this one even required me taking the shades off because there's so much small, granular detail in this one that it's just going to be better that I do it this way. So, if you didn't check it out the other day, there was the Epic Games stream where they had... It was an awful stream, by the way. It was extremely poor and low quality. Anything I do is better than that. That's not saying much because, you know, I'm very, very high-end, top-end stuff. Now, they had a couple of new announcements of what's coming to PC gaming, at least on the Epic Store side of it, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. The only big takeaway from this entire thing, the only big important one, is that Kingdom Hearts is now coming to PC. Not just Kingdom Hearts coming to PC, the entire series is coming to PC. As far as I know, every single Kingdom Hearts game is coming to PC. There's the 1.5 remix, the 2.5 remix, the 2.8 remix, the Kingdom Hearts 3, as well as the new upcoming Rhythm game as well, all on PC. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this one. They're all coming March 30th, 2021, exclusively to the Epic Games Store. It's expected to be timed 1 year exclusive because, you know, pretty much everything is. I think the only thing that hasn't been was Borderlands 3 with a 6 months exclusive deal. And when you look at the amount of money that these companies get paid for these exclusive deals, well, given the fact that it's Square Enix plus Disney involved in this, they're probably going to want a lot of money. I mean, what is it? Epic Games paid 10 million euro for 1 year timed exclusive on Control, let alone higher profile stuff like 6 months of Borderlands 3, Disney related stuff like Kingdom Hearts for an entire series. You can only imagine how much that cost them. So it's likely timed 1 year exclusive. Now, the big question here is the price that a lot of people see. So, there is the 1.5/2.5 HD Remix bundle. It's all included in there. This one is €60 for this bundle. We'll talk about the prices and all towards the end and why and all that as well. But we also have a bit of specs for them too. So, we have the minimum spec for 1.5/2.5 Remix. Windows 10, 64-bit, version 1909 or later. We also have an i3 3210 or AMD A8 6800, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 60 gigs of storage, DirectX 12, NVIDIA GeForce GT 730 or AMD Radeon R7 240, VRAM 2 gigabytes or more. Now, of course, that's the minimum and recommended spec for the 1.5 and 2.5 bundle are actually exactly the same, which is a little bit strange to me. I guess it's really just because they're kind of so old and so basic. I mean, technically they're PS2 games, and even the remixed, remastered versions are PS3 games, and the ones that play on PS3, I mean, I think I remember seeing something like Kingdom Hearts on one of the remixes on PS3 ran at something like 1080p, 30 FPS with like 4x MSAA or something like that. It's understandable why the requirements are so low for such old ones like this. Now we also have the 2.8 Prologue bundle, also €60. Minimum specification, Windows 10 64-bit version 1909. We have the processor CPU is i5-3330 at 3 GHz, 4 core, 4 threads, or else AMD Ryzen 3 1200, 3.1 GHz, 4 core, 4 thread, 8 GB of RAM, 35 gigs of storage, and DirectX version 12. Graphics adapters, you're looking at a GeForce GTX 760 with VRAM of 2 gig, or an AMD Radeon R7 260X, VRAM 2 gig as well. Now, this is where the recommended spec comes in. It is slightly higher. You have the same version of Windows 10 64-bit version 1909 or later. The CPU is increased a bit from a Core i3 all the way up to a Core i5 7500 or an AMD Ryzen 3 3100. 8 GB of RAM, just the same as the previous, 35 gigs of storage, DirectX 12, and on the graphics card front, you're looking at a GTX 1070 or a Radeon RX Vega 56. Now, also we have Kingdom Hearts 3 coming in at €60. We have minimum recommended spec, Windows 10 64-bit version 1909, Intel Core i5-3330, and AMD Ryzen 3 1200, 8 GB of RAM, 75 gigs of storage, and this one I find particularly interesting, DirectX version 11 for the newest game by a significant margin, DirectX 11 versus all the previous ones, DirectX 12. On the graphics side of it as well, minimum for Kingdom Hearts 3, you're looking at a GTX 760 or a Radeon R7 260X. The recommended spec is the same version of Windows 10. You're also looking at an i5 7500 with a Ryzen 3 3100, 8 GB of RAM, 75 gigs of storage, and of course the usual DirectX 11. But on the graphics card front, you're looking at a 1070 or an AMD Radeon RX Vega 56. Now, I think it's funny, we're going to talk about the price here as well. So I think it's funny that all of these are coming in at such significantly high prices. These games go on sale all the time on the PS4, or even if you go to, I said PS4 or PSN, or you can go anywhere. I mean, someone posted at the same time of all of this that the PS4 all-in-one collection was like €26, or maybe it was $26 on Amazon at the same time as all this. So essentially, if you wanted to buy, I didn't include the rhythm game for obvious reasons, but if you want to buy the main trilogy, the main collection of Kingdom Hearts, you're talking €60 for the 1.5, 2.5 remix bundle, €60 for the 2.8 HD Prologue, and then €60 for Kingdom Hearts 3. That's €180 for what you can get in an inferior platform somewhere else for €25. Now, the reason, in my astute mind, and frankly this is the only way that it could potentially be this, is the only reason these games are full price is because Epic Games naturally paid likely tens of millions to get this timed exclusive, likely timed exclusive, we don't know if it's timed exclusive, but it probably is, on their store. So they have to recoup as much money as possible, because if they sell all this for like €20, €25 each, the money is going to be significantly lower. But no, they have to bring it in at full price. And naturally, Disney got that greed going massively strong going on. Now, anyway, what's going on with this? How do I feel about this? I will either get them off the back of a digital truck, or, most likely, I will pick them up on Steam in 1 year as an all-in-one bundle for probably €60 on March 30th, 2022. I will easily wait a year for this one because, well, Final Fantasy VII Burn, shame on me. And you know that's coming next with the Epic Games Store. I talked about that multiple times, including predicting in 2019. Stay tuned for more on that one. But other than that, we do have one final thing to talk about, the most important segment every single week, and that is Q, what's up, what's going on, what's going down, what is the deal, what are you playing? Well, naturally, with this new beast PC, I have the world as my oyster. The world of gaming is a giant pussy, and it is waiting to get fucked by my 3090. Now, what are we doing here? Well, since the last one of these, I have got around to playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So with Horizon Zero Dawn, what's the deal? I played through the entire game. I played through the entire DLC as well, or the expansion, or whatever you want to call it, the Frozen Wild. Played through both of them. Now, with Horizon Zero Dawn, I had no expectations going in. I didn't think the game looked any good on PS4. That's why I didn't play it on PS4. And that's why I didn't buy it on PS4. So when it came to PC, I thought, you know what, maybe the power and glory of PC and all the enhancements, and most importantly, the playable frame rate, might now be actually able to save this. Unfortunately, that turned out to not be the case. So I went in with zero expectations. So at the very start of the game, for the first couple of hours, when it was still kind of fairly linear at the time and fairly tightly focused, because it was still going through the narrative story side of it, which little deviation, it was starting to get good, and I was starting to enjoy it. But once I got a couple more hours into it, and the world started opening up to me, and what everything in there, and all the systems and mechanics became available, the game just became an absolute slog. The story got even worse as I went along, and frankly, it was just pretty awful at the end of it. Overall, it's not a visually impressive game. You can see that it is a PS4 game at heart, and the quality of the textures definitely belie that. Now, one thing I will say is you can see where the improved stuff on PC comes in. You can see that Aloy, her character model, looks questionable at best. You can see a lot of the world looks questionable at best. But you can see stuff like the enhanced foliage, the enhanced lighting, the enhanced shadow and all, the enhanced water. You can tell all the PC enhancements are just completely held back by a console game. They polished it up as much as they could, but at the end of the day, it's a console game with some good PC enhancements on top of it. Not to mention 120 FPS at 1440p. So that made it slightly more playable. But overall, not a very good game. Not happy with it. And I cannot recommend it in that regard. I also went and replayed the entirety of Control and did both DLCs. Of course, this one was done for kind of a few reasons. One, I can now test it. I can now test Control with RTX and ray tracing and all the reflections and all the lighting and the shadows and everything as well. And it has convinced me 100%, like I said before, now that I've got to do it and experience it, even though I was saying the same thing before I had got a chance to do it, ray tracing is the future. Ray trace reflections in particular. The lighting and the shadows and all are good in games where they are ray traced, but the reflections are the biggest deal. They are the absolute business. So I played through Control anyway. Two reasons why I did it. One was to test that out, and the other reason was because I needed to get to about halfway through the game to be able to do the Alan Wake DLC, and you needed to finish the game to do the Foundation DLC. The Alan Wake DLC was nice, a lot of tie-in and all with obviously one of my much loved games with Alan Wake, and I know there was some references and everything in the original game in Control as a base, but it's nice to see a bit more obvious and a bit more straight up in your face stuff with this way, because more Alan Wake is always a good thing. And in fact, when you finish the DLC, they're basically teasing Alan Wake 2. So you give me proper new end PC high-end Alan Wake 2 with ray traced light, ray traced shadows, ray traced ambient occlusion, technically the same thing as shadows, and ray traced reflections. Yeah, boy. Absolutely. Give me all of that. Now, I've also played through Mafia Definitive Edition, which was not great. It's not a great port, and it's not a great version and reimagining of the game. It's okay. I couldn't recommend it to anyone for more than like 15, maybe 20 euro. It's hard to recommend at all. It's just... I used to play and love the original Mafia, and this doesn't feel like a reimagining of that. It feels like a poor copy, in a way. It does have some nice stuff as well. There are a couple of nice improvements with visuals and reflections and light and shadow and all as well. it's a bit nice in that regard. It's nothing mind-blowing and groundbreaking when it comes to visuals. There are some of it there too, and not to mention I had the issue with it as well because it's a poor engine and poorly coded, that I had to crank the game up to 5K to be able to play it at a steady, slightly under 120 FPS maxed out, because the game is made poorly and the sync doesn't run like it should. Pretty poor on that regard. Funny enough, actually, another game that did have that sync issue is the new Call of Duty, Cold War. That came free with my 3090, and yeah, that had the same issue. I had to lock that to 115. That actually worked. So when it did go like 2 or 3 over, it would still be fine. But you get the idea. It's I'm kind of not surprised, because Hangar 13, the same developer from Mafia 3, they've only made 2 games, Mafia 3 and Mafia Definitive Edition. Mafia 3 was a poor technological game anyway, and a poor PC port. I mean, it launched locked to 30 FPS. They did fix that eventually, but you get the idea. So it's a pretty poor jobby overall. Now, having said that, that is the end of our Quack Experimental Podcast, our 82nd episode. Of course, before we do our little sign out as usual, I want to take a second to remind everyone to jump on into the description box below. You can check out the new retro streaming series we have on Twitch, Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. GMT. It's streaming nothing but retro games for several hours every single night, every single weeknight at least anyway. It's great stuff so far. It's off to a good start. I'm happy with where it's going. So head on over, drop in a follow, and we will go from there. You can join in the absolute madness. But until then, of course, well, you know the deal. I will see everyone wherever, whenever we do another one of these beautiful episodes. But in the meantime, feel free to slide on into the comment section down below. Hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. And while you're at it, why not head on over and hit the subscribe button and even ring that little notification bell. Granted, YouTube notifications, whatnot and all with these things these days, who knows? But at least you can say you tried, am I right? As always, thank you so much for watching. And remember, winners don't play switch ports.